This is a moment that will always stay with you. It's when the training is over and your placement has started, and the reality of everything kicks in. And honestly, you can be left thinking, well, I didn't expect it to feel like this. This season is especially for carers in their first couple of years, when fostering feels bigger than you imagined, and you're quietly wondering if you are actually doing the right thing. By the end of today's episode, you'll understand why this season feels so overwhelming, and you'll have 3 gentle practices to help you stay grounded and close to God without adding more pressure to your plate. Because right now, you don't need to do more. You just need to find a steadiness within all the chaos that you may be finding yourself in. And this is the part that no one truly can prepare you for. And it's the moment in fostering that no one even warns you about. And I found myself in this space just under 7 years ago now. And this is a moment that will always stay with you. It's when the training is over and your placement has started, and the reality of everything kicks in. And honestly, you can be left thinking, well, I didn't expect it to feel like this. When you find yourself starting to understand the children in your care, when you find that you still believe what you're doing is right, but things just feel really different. Your home functions on a different level that you weren't fully prepared for. You find yourself so emotionally and physically exhausted, not just from the children that you're caring for, but also trying to navigate all of these broken, confusing systems. And honestly, you do very quietly, you do question yourself. And I remember sitting there thinking, what on earth have I chose to do? What on earth am I putting my family through? These questions are going to come up, but give yourself the time and the grace to just sit with these questions. When you find yourself in this place, know that by asking these questions, you haven't made a mistake. It just means that your awareness to your situations is growing. And that awareness, it can feel unsettling. But the more that we lean into that, the more that we can trust into that, the more it actually becomes empowering. The more awareness that we have, the more empowered we can be as we learn and as we grow. If you find yourself in the wilderness, where things just seem so out of the ordinary, this isn't a failure by any means. It's you finding new formation, new rhythms, new ways of living. And if we pull it back into scripture, when we look at the Bible, the wilderness was never about punishment. When we look into the Bible and we see them going through the wilderness, it was the place where God taught his people how to actually trust in him. The wilderness is where certainty gets stripped away from us. It's the place where we have to let go of control. We have to let go of the outcomes. This is when we gently get to move our faith from just being something that we believe in and it being a nicety and something that just comforts us into something that we actually live, where we have to rely on that each and every day to get through, to have our daily manna, because we have to live through that chaos, that uncertainty, and the only thing that gets us stay steady in all of that is God. So if you are in your first years of fostering and things feel like they're just going to fall apart at any moment, know that this isn't God abandoning you. This is God walking with you. He's teaching you how to depend on Him in real life. And things are going to be quiet. Things are going to feel so unsure. Answers may come, but they'll come really slowly. You're in this wilderness season not to punish you, not to make you think that you're not good enough or incapable, but it's to slow you down. It's to prepare you for what's next to come. And I know that we don't always know what the next step is, but God does. This is the season for you now to allow things around you to not weigh you down, but instead to allow you to spend more time with God, to get as close as you possibly can with God. The wilderness can feel hard and punishing and chaotic, but He provides for us each and every day. When we find ourselves in the wilderness, sometimes we want to go into that panic. We want to over-deliver. We want to try and have every single thing just right, just perfect. And we fear so much judgment. But know that your only job when you're in this season is not to have it all figured out. Now, that can feel really hard, especially if you're like me and you're a little bit of a control freak. And I wanted to have everything in order, and I wanted this behavior, and I wanted this outcome. And I've had to learn that in those few years of fostering, my job was so simple. I just didn't allow it to be. But God has shown me time and time again, our only job at the beginning of fostering is to not harden our hearts. And that's probably easier said than done. And I know I say this so many times, but God sees your heart. So He wants you to soften your heart. He wants you to soften towards the children, to soften towards yourself, and to soften towards Him, towards God. Because yes, there is going to be so much confusion, there's going to be exhaustion, and none of that disqualifies you, none of it makes you weak. But when we allow ourselves to soften our hearts, that when things actually start getting thrown at us, because there will be questions thrown at you from every single angle, multiple situations thrown at you, and you're not going to have the answer to everything. But the one thing that you will have consistently on this journey is your faith. So when you can anchor yourself into your faith, that carries the household differently. It carries you differently through the uncertainty, through the wilderness, because you know that you're being supported. But not only you, you know that everybody in the home is being supported on this journey. You know that through the wilderness, God provides your daily manna. He will consistently provide for you. He will show you the outcome. He will support you in ways that you never thought possible. So we shared at the beginning of this video, we're going to give you 3 gentle practices for this season that you find yourself in right now. Because yes, we lean on God so much, but there's also things that we can do to learn and grow in this season. Now, these 3 simple things, they are not going to overwhelm you. They are nothing heavy. But these are things that you can do each and every day. Because now you've stepped into a world that centers around others, it's still really important that you don't lose yourself throughout all of that. These simple practices are for you. Yes, you can bring people in the home and you can all do it collectively. But just remember that you are important in all of this. There's so much emphasis on the children, but you are so important. So the first one is pause once a day. And I know you're going to be like, I don't have time to pause. Trust me, you do. Just pause wherever you may find yourself right now. Do it with me. Pause. Put your feet firmly on the ground and just take 3 slow breaths. And if you want to, you can just add a simple prayer right now. God, I need you today. Help me to see things clearly. That's it. The second step, and again, we can do this right now, is notice what is yours to carry and what isn't. Now, as foster carers, we can very easily take on board everybody else's problems and situations and carry them as our own burdens. But the more you go through on this journey, you start to realize that a lot of that actually isn't your responsibility or your burden to carry. So you can do this now, or you can spend some time at the end of your day and just reflect. What was my responsibility today and what wasn't? This question has so much power. And just knowing that you don't have to fix everything, you don't need to be everything to everybody. You just need to stay faithful to who you are and to where you're going. And the third one is to track your energy, not your performance. At the very beginning of my fostering journey, I tried so hard to pour my everything into everybody. If somebody said jump, I'd say how high. And what I've come to learn over the past 7 years is my energy and what I give to others, that's one thing that I can control. And it can be really easy to slip into just wanting to give to everybody. So again, journal and write down what has drained you this week. What has given you even a small sense of peace? Give yourself back some of your own time and some of your own energy. Allow yourself to be grounded, but also learn in this season. For foster carers, we have to write our logs on the children, and it always seems to be do this for the children, do this for the children. But I really encourage you to take time for yourself and just answer these simple questions. You can do it if you do logs at the end of the day or once a week. Spend an extra 3 to 5 minutes and answer these questions for yourself. And if you want to come back to them, they're in the comments, or you can visit us over at fosteringkingdoms.com and come to the reflections. And these questions will be there for you to just spend a bit of time and answer them. And knowing that spending time for yourself, it isn't weakness, it is wisdom. We need to be wise with our time, with our energy, especially when we're in the wilderness season. Wanting to build on where we are to get us to a place of, actually, I can function really well in this. And if we are trying to build sustainability, then we have to look at how do we actually build success with our life? Because if we don't have success in what we're doing, we're not going to have sustainability. And I talk about this a lot in my book, To Build Success as an Everyday Woman. I talk about success as a life that you're happy in. I don't talk about success as building the perfect life, having the 7 figures, having the perfect body, having X, Y, and Z that so many people label success as today. But success doesn't mean that life is going to come without struggles. But it's about building a life where at the end of the day, you can say, well, I did what I could with what I had, and I'm going to try again tomorrow. And I'm quite content with what I've achieved today, with the things that I've done. And just building on that, just waking up knowing that you have achieved something the day before and you're going to try again today. When we find ourselves in the wilderness season, success isn't about the outcomes. Success is about building that life that you are happy in. And we do that by staying soft. We do it by staying faithful. It's about getting up each and every day without putting guilt and shame on us. We're building a life here on earth in God's way, and God is not measuring us by the systems that we find ourselves in. God is measuring us by our hearts. And I know I repeat it so many times, but it's so important to know that God sees our heart. So even when the systems say you're not doing this good enough, God knows that your heart is full of love and it's bursting to keep giving. And that's how we create these happy, successful lives. When at the end of the day, we can say, I have poured out from my heart. Yes, into the children, but into many other areas too, and also into ourselves. I think it's one of the hardest things to remember, especially in the wilderness season, in those first couple of years, is to remember to pour back into yourself. In the first few years of fostering, everything, and I get it, everything feels uncertain. But I want you to know that you're not behind, you're not failing, and you're certainly not alone in this season. It can feel like things are slowly just plodding along, or you might find yourself dealing with systems that no one really warned you about. This is just the season to soften, to learn, to grow. And you're not alone. This season that you find yourself in right now, this isn't delaying what God has in store for you. It's preparation. We have to be in the wilderness so that we can finally reach the promised land. And know that God is with you in the wilderness. And He is far more patient than you realize. And I think that's quite hard as humans to try and grasp God's patience, especially when we find ours wearing very thin. I know for me, sometimes I have found myself there just thinking, oh God, just give me patience. But I know it's not the best thing to ask the Lord for. But in Hosea 10:12, it says, plow up the hard ground of your hearts, for now is the time to seek the Lord. And it's so true in every season that we find ourselves in. We are always reminded to seek the Lord, to soften our hearts, because from our hearts, everything that we do flows from our hearts. Everything that you do each and every day for others, for yourself, it flows from your heart. So learn to soften as we walk through the wilderness. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for the work that you do. Even on the days when it feels invisible and you don't feel like people see what you're doing, know that you are deeply appreciated. If you've enjoyed today's video, make sure to give us a like and subscribe to our channel, and we can hang out a little bit more on the next video.